Hi there people, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the workshop. In our previous video we replaced the engine oil and filter on this bike here. In this video we're going to be replacing the front brake pads, and then in our next video we'll be going through the process of removing the fuel tank and all the associated plastics that go with it. I've never done that on this bike yet, so we will learn that together, as we need to replace the air filter and the spark plugs. Stick around for more. I'm going to be fitting new front brake pads. These are good quality EBC double H sintered pads. The brakes admittedly are very good, very strong on this bike, but the pads are very thin, they're due for change. First things first, we're going to remove the cap on the brake reservoir, brake fluid reservoir that is, as we need to check the fluid level, make sure there's enough room for the fluid to go back when we push the pistons back. The last thing I want is the fluid overflowing onto the plastics and onto the paintwork, as it is very corrosive. Okay, as you can see it, I don't know whether the camera will show it, but the fluid level is above the bubble, the sight glass, so I don't know exactly how much fluid is in here. Although the pistons are pushed most of the way out with having worn brake pads, I still don't know how much fluid is in this. So my fear is, if I push the pads back, that the fluid will overflow and go all over my paintwork. Okay, as always, before we start this, a few precautions. Brake dust is an irritant, irritate your skin. So we're going to be wearing, as usual, gloves. Also, we're going to be using brake cleaner, and that's not nice stuff on your hands. So again, gloves for that. Also, clean rags, protect the paintwork of the bike, and the wheels, etc. I don't want brake fluid on my paintwork and on my plastics, so we will protect those the best we can. Remove the two screws to hold the cap down. Okay, remove the cap. Okay, as I thought, the brake fluid level is too high, so I just have this here. I'm just going to remove a small bit of fluid, just bring it down to the lower mark. This is just a vacuum brake bleeder. It will make short work of stepping out. Okay. As you can see now, the fluid is at a nice lower level. We are going to remove these two clips for the wheel speed sensor cable. The last thing we want to be doing is pulling on that cable. Those sensors aren't cheap, we don't want to break that. Just tuck him out of the way. Next thing, we have two 5mm Allen or hex head pins. We're just going to crack those loose before we remove the two mounting bolts. It'll be a lot easier to do it now before we have the caliper loosened in our hands. Just crack them loose. Next step, we're going to remove the two caliper retaining bolts. These are 12mm. Second one. Okay, gently remove a caliper. Try not to bag the lovely gold rims. See, that's what we're left with. Lovely, fairly weathered pads. Having the caliper by the crash bars using a hook. I don't want to leave the caliper hanging on the hoses. I don't really want to stress those too much. That on the mud guard, because I don't want to scratch that up either. If you press in slightly on the pads, you will relieve the pressure off the pin and it should come out fairly easy. The two focus LW. Both pins are exactly the same, so the orientation doesn't matter. Same with the mounting bolts. Okay, now try and remove the pads. Yeah, I think they're about done. What we're going to do is we're going to clean off as much of the old brake dust off the pistons as possible before we push them back. So, brake cleaner, give them a quick spray, and scrub. Last thing you want to do is pushing contaminants back past the seals and into your brake fluid. Pushing your pistons back. You can do it the easy way, or you can do it the hard way, with levers and your old pads. I've heard to do it the easy way. I do a lot of them, so I opt for the easy way. Just gently wind. Slowly, slowly, catchy monkey. Okay, as you can see, the pistons now go back flush, which will give you enough room to get the new pads in. Before fitting the pads, we're just going to give the pins a quick clean up. You can use sandpaper. I'm just going to use a bit of Scotch pad. There we go. Have those cleaned up. You need to get your new pads ready. Okay. Topic of copper grease. Everybody has their opinion on it, whether to use it or not. Personally, I like the stuff. Copper grease. Right. These pads have an anti-squeal shim. That's also for heat retraction. So I'm literally just going to put copper grease on the edge of the plate, not the friction material, on the top edge, just here, where it makes contact with the anti-squeal shim. That's in the top of the caliper. So Not much, just a tiny bit to stop it binding and any corrosion happening. Get an angle. That's it. And a small bit up on it. Okay, same for the second one. I'm also going to put copper grease on the pins if you want to stop corrosion. And onto the threads of the pins. I will be riding this bike through the winter, especially on the salt roads and all the spray, etc. Okay, hold your pads in and insert one piston at a time, or one pin at a time, until they start rather than threads. And second one, just push in slightly, push the pad in slightly, and your pins will slide in. Okay. This job is just with your 5 Allen bit, just wind your pins in, just hand tight. We'll tighten them up afterwards when the caliper is secure. This is remove caliper from your tight, remove the rag, and what's that? Yeah, I'll remove that in a minute. Oh, yeah. Fit the caliper into position and put it onto the dowels. I'm not going to re-grease these mounting bolts. If there's enough grease on them, I'll grease them next time I do the pads. Okay, always start your threads by hand, not a ratchet. You don't want to cross thread these. Tightly torque for these bolts, 39 Newton meters. I would recommend torquing these bolts. They go through a lot of heat cycles. If they're too loose, they'll come undone. If they're too tight, the bolt could shear or it could pull the threads, because it has to have room for thermal expansion. Okay. I'll back it out for you so you can see what I'm doing. Torque wrench, click, and click. Okay, pins. I don't have the torque setting for these, but common sense will prevail. Just a nip up. You don't need a big long ratchet. This is what I have to hand. Just a nip. Okay, then we secure our cable for the wheel speed sensor. click and a click. Okay, we'll drop the bike down and we'll check the fluid level and pump the brakes up. One more thing is, you want to pump the brakes to bring the pistons out in between doing both calipers. After you've done the second caliper, pump the brakes back up till they go hard again, and then do your final fluid level check. I won't show you the second caliper because you refit your cap. Just put a small bit of copper grease onto the threads of the screws just to stop any corrosion. It will help you a lot when you come to remove it the next time. Thank you for watching this video. I will link the other videos, i.e. the oil and filter change, and also the air box or the air filter and the spark plug change to this video if you'd like to watch them. Thank you very much. Please like, subscribe and share. I appreciate you all watching. Thank you very much.